Okay, so I'll be introducing Stu Valley Technology to all of you first. So Stu Valley Technology Private Limited has a successful track record in the field of academia, research, training, recruitment, and job assistance since its inception in 2018. We also offer training and internship for all levels of the professional world. It starts from plus two level to a seasoned professional. We in Stu Valley Technology phased academic and research development as no civilization can survive without education and can't progress without research. We work with each applicant to prepare them for employment ready. Stu Valley Technology bridge the gap between employer and employee via industry or product specific selection and pre-employment training. Just for a quick look, I am sharing my screen and showing all the unique services which we Stu Valley Technology Private Limited holds. So I'll be sharing my screen now. I hope my screen is visible to you all.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Alpha.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. For learning and teaching platform, we have Prayug. For internship training programs, we have StuIntern. For professional AI resume builder, we have ResumeOcean. For job portal, we have Navrojan. For education, we have Vidyapun. For psychometric test, we have Sudakshta. For research, we have Anushram. So these are all the services which we offer at Stu Valley Technology Private Limited. And I'll be introducing your trainer for today. So your trainer for today is Abha Pandit. So she has over 13 years of experience having extensive knowledge of Microsoft technologies, training, and she has a proven success working with Pioneer IT and software company as freelancer. So she will be teaching you, like she will be guiding you today for Azure, Microsoft Azure. So over to you, Abha ma'am.
Thank you, Arzu. Thank you for introduction and thank you for great insight about the Stu Valley. I hope everybody is like able to hear me. Can you just reply me with the
Yes, ma'am.
thumbs up? Yeah, perfectly fine. And I hope everybody is awake and had a very great lunch. Okay, so onwards, we are going to discuss Azure technologies. So if possible, if you switch on the camera, that would be really great to interact with each other and even you feel more attentive during this few, basically, I would say some time which we are spending together to understand the technology. Yeah. So like, what is your understanding about Azure? Or let me start with the very basic thing here, that is cloud computing. Okay, so let's start with the cloud computing and then we moving towards the Azure services. Okay. So what is your understanding? Anyone out of, like, there are so many, so please just I would say unmute yourself and you can just answer the question. What is your understanding about cloud computing? Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are. Students, please respond to what your trainer is asking because we want this session to be very interactive.
Hello.
So, yes, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
My
Shivam.
name is Mr.
Yeah,
My name is
Shivam.
Mr. As of now that I'm learning the about Azure and cloud computing. Basically, Azure is the framework as like that. We we make the learning of the Java programming language as like that. You can use the Spring Boot as like that. It's a framework. As the same has been to be taken Azure. Azure is the solve the today challenges and create in future. And you can build a run project and manage the hybrid mode across the world in the same. That's it.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you very much, Shivam, for your great input about the basically the question which I had asked, and many they had answer in the chat also. So Rishikesh is answered like Azure is used for managing cloud application. Yeah, perfectly fine. That is also the correct answer. Anyone want to add anything from their end? So before to start with my session, I just want like your understanding. See, it will be really great if you interact with me, because see, at the end of the day, my objective from this basically complete 40-45 minutes of discussion is at least you should take something from this complete session, and you analyze what you actually understand and what you supposed to more get into insight of it. Okay, so yeah, somebody had given databases, networking, computing. Yeah, basically cloud computing is the concept of virtual managing services. Yeah, perfectly fine. Yeah, so there are many things, many buddies are chatting and they are sending the reply on the chat. Yeah, very well. If anybody wants, they can unmute themselves and they can even speak out. Okay, fine. So I'll just take you very basic thing about the cloud computing. See, I consider that many of you are from the computer background, but many of you are not from the computer background. They want to get into some good opportunity into the computer science and basically the IT as a basically profession. So I am considering that mix and match background audiences right now in front of me, and I am just taking from the scratch, and we are going to understand what is Azure as a basically cloud service. Okay, fine. So yeah, pay as you go model, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. Yeah, perfectly fine. Now I'm sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfectly fine. Okay. So, like, what is cloud computing? This is a question I had asked at the beginning. Okay. So, this is my first question I had asked at the beginning. And at the end of the session, you will understand, like, what is cloud, what are the services, and how these services can be useful. Okay. And how it is being used. Okay. And the Azure as a cloud service provider. So, all these kind of things you will get basically output from this session. So let's start. Okay, so everybody is able to see the image which I am showing. So can anybody answer me what exactly this image is? Yeah, can anybody answer me what exactly this image?
Anyone machine part?
Yes. See, I want a oral answer because I'm not going to check the chat every time because I had to take your valuable 40 to 45 minutes only. So I'm not going to continuously check your chat. So please unmute yourself and answer the question. Quickly, quickly. I'm just giving you next 2 minutes only to think about this machine.
It is some kind of engine, CI
Okay,
engine, I think.
okay, okay. A little bit engine, okay, but engine is a very generic word, Gautam. Can you be more specific about this?
Compression engine?
Not exactly. Okay, let me come to the answer. See, this is the image, okay, around in early 90s or early 19s, okay, 19th century I'm just talking about, and it is a generator, electricity generator, okay. So if somebody wants to use electricity, okay, around the globe I am talking about, okay, this is a generic thing I am considering, okay. So around the globe, somebody wants to use electricity, he need to establish such a huge infrastructure to get the electricity as a service, okay. Now, this is a 10 years ago, okay, this is a 100 years ago. The situation is like this, okay, suppose I want to consume it, I had to establish such a huge infrastructure. That's a power station. What are the challenges I had to face it? Okay, just imagine 100 years back, if suppose I want to switch on a light, okay, so I had to set up this kind of huge infrastructure. So such kind of basically imagination you need to think for a second and just try to understand what are the challenges. What are the challenges may come across this? Can anybody answer the challenges?
Like
See, by
need to
looking,
maintenance
yeah,
the
maintenance
machine.
is, yeah, Santosh, it's completely right. Maintenance is one. Another, initial cost. Initial cost is one of the major concern here. Suppose I want to consume electricity, I just want to switch on a light, okay. So I had to first initially establish, I had to invest in that infrastructure. Which infrastructure? The complete power setup, which I had shown you in the image, okay. So the initial cost is one. Then ongoing maintenance is second. So Santosh had answer for the maintenance, so that is a completely right answer. So these are the two major parameters for just consuming electricity before 100 years, right? So what exactly the situation we are having right now? Okay, just imagine 100 years back, if suppose I want to switch on a light, the light just nearby me, even you can see. So such kind of light, if I want, I had to establish a power setup. Okay, and initially I had to invest a lot. And again, I had to maintain it. So that is the ongoing maintenance is also needed. But nowadays, what we are having, we are just having a button. Okay, what we had to supposed to do with that button? Okay, everybody having button in their house. Okay, switch boards are there. So if suppose you want to switch on the light, you just have a button, you have to switch on it, the light get open, and when the lights basically are on, it is not only the light electricity for your house. You just imagine this light or this kind of button or switch can be producing electricity for a huge organization or for huge factories. Okay, so those also consuming electricity. See, the consumers are not only the domestic one, the consumers are industrial also consuming the electricity. So industry is also consuming the electricity by just pressing a button. At the same time, this electricity or by just switching that button, the cities like New York or cities like Chennai or cities like Mumbai or Delhi is getting light at a time. Okay, at a time we are getting light. So how these things are possible? Just imagine how these things are possible. Tell me. Anyone? Okay, let me ask you very basic question here. Suppose I'm consuming electricity nowadays, what I have to pay here? Will I have to set up the infrastructure at my place? Okay, see, look at the our houses are so small, we cannot afford the space even nowadays, right? We are staying in cosmopolitan cities, so where the houses are very small and compact, how we can establish that infrastructure? It's next to impossible, right? But we are getting electricity. How?
They
Because
have that
Inverter.
infrastructure,
exactly we
like
are
pay
used
as you go model. Yeah.
exactly whatever we are consuming. So at the end of the month, we are getting the bill, right?
Yeah.
Basically, whichever be the state you belongs to, that state electricity board sends you the bill, right? So that bill is nothing, it's your consumption. So whatever you are consuming, suppose you are consuming 10 units or 100 unit or a 50 unit, whatever be the units you are consuming, based on that unit consumption and the basic services charges, it incurred with a certain kind of bill, right? So what exactly I want to communicate here, the services what we are getting, it's not only the electricity. Okay, we are consuming so many services. Your mobile is one of the services, your internet is another services, right? So electricity is one of it. I had taken an example here to start with the understanding about the cloud. So here what we are consuming, we are just paying for it. We are not involved into the setuping of the power station. We are not investing nearby any power station is there or not, any dam is there, and from that dam there is some KVs are generating. That is not our basically headache, right? So what exactly we are doing, whatever we are consuming, I am paying for it, right? So this is the ease I am getting. Okay, try to understand what ease I am getting. It's not only the me or you individually, it is also the businesses. Okay, it is also the companies, it is also the factories. Everybody is getting that ease, okay, of electricity use and consumption. Why? Because there are somebody who is taking care about that infrastructure. There are some entities or there are certain organizations who are taking care about that infrastructure and ongoing maintenance, and they are just responsible to produce electricity to the consumption or to the consumers, and based on that consumption, they are getting the bill. Okay, they are getting the basically revenue. Okay, so this kind of cycle, if we consider for the electricity, similarly this thing also we can compare with the cloud. Okay, so let's compare with that. So there are the certain stages involved, right? So in the electricity, we are having generation, right? Then what we are having? Distribution. So you may seen around your basically locality, or while traveling from one city to another city, you will see such kind of basically distribution of electricity, right? There are the towers, okay? So through that tower, that distribution happens, okay? And what we are actually getting? The consumption. So that consumption at any point, okay? It's not key only that bulb. I just shown you the bulb, but it is just a generic one. It can be for what I say, the software industries, or those who are consuming so much energy, so much electricity software companies are consuming, or maybe the basically factories, like any factory you can take, a Reliance factories, or any pharmaceutical factory, or a manufacturing factory, whichever the factory you can take it, they also consuming the electricity. At the same time, the people like us also consuming the electricity, okay? So this is the three stages we are having: generation, distribution, and the consumption, right? Similarly, when we talk about a cloud, we also having cloud somewhere located, okay? So it's a meaning cloud. Cloud means what? Somewhere it is remotely located. From there, I am accessing services, but how I am accessing? Through the internet. So without internet, I cannot use cloud services. The very first and very most important thing here. And the consumer like us, they are consuming. So they can consume through laptop, mobile, or tablet, or any different kind of basically hardwares as well. Okay. So these are the three things. Again, we can have it in the cloud computing also. So I hope now cloud computing concept is clear at this point.
Yeah, yes.
Perfectly fine. Anyone having any kind of doubt at this point? So we can have the interaction here itself and we can clear out, or else I can move to the next basically step of my session. Anyone? I just check any chat. Clear. Okay, fine. So now let's talk about basically cloud as a Azure. Okay. So try to understand. Okay. So what exactly the services we are having? Okay. So if we just talk about, now we talk about a mobile service, because everybody is using mobile nowadays. Okay. No one here like who is not using mobile. Okay. So let's talk about a mobile service. Okay. So you might be using Airtel, somebody is using say Reliance, somebody is using some other services. Okay. Similarly, what are these services are? They are the service provider. Okay. If you just compare their plans, and if you just compare their basically services, they are almost same. There is hardly here and there some changes. They're almost same. So that's why we never change our basically services, right? All together, like my service provider earlier, I'm just telling you my experience. My service provider was Tata. Okay. Then Tata is being taken by the Airtel. Okay. They get a merger into the basically Maharashtra. So I joined from the Pune location. So they get a merger. So around 5 years back, now I become a Airtel basically consumer. Okay. Automatically, because the Tata is being taken care by the Airtel infrastructure. So I had not changed anything, because I feel कि यार आइडिया में भी वही होगा जो रिलायंस में है, वही एयरटेल में है, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? 500 रुपए महीने का यहाँ भी बिल भरना है, और suppose if I change somewhere, so I can get 490 rupees. But for getting that 10 rupees benefit, I had to do so many headaches. So every consumer believes in the same way. Okay. So what they are the mobile service provider. Okay. Either it can be we, it can be Idea, it can be Vodafone, it can be Reliance, it can be Airtel, any service providers. They are the service provider. They are providing the services. What services they are providing? They are providing the mobile services. Okay, you can connect, you can message, you can call. Okay, you can even go outside India. You can have a roaming. You can also have internet connectivity. So many things, services they are providing us, and based on that, they are charging, right? They are charging. If I'm using my mobile internationally on the roaming, so the charges will be definitely different than in the India. Okay. So what are the services we are availing? Based on that, they are charging. Okay. So pay as we go model. Okay. So electricity service is also following the same. Mobile service also following the same. And when it comes to cloud services, they are also following the same. Okay. But how that we are going to discuss. Okay. Now we are talking about Azure. Okay. So Azure is also one of the cloud service. Okay. So there are ample of cloud services. You might heard about Amazon AWS. You might heard about Google Cloud. You might heard about IBM Cloud. You might heard about even Tata is also recently started with the cloud services with the Tata. Then we are having Salesforce as the basic one of the cloud service provider. Oracle is also having a services, and the Azure is one. Okay. Now I will personally explain you. Azure is very easy to understand because it's a Microsoft product. Okay. So since your childhood and even my childhood, we are using Microsoft services. Okay. Once we started our basically understanding about the computer or IT. So we started with the PowerPoint, we started with the Word. So what are they? These are all the Microsoft basically products only. Similarly, they are very easy to understand. Similarly, Azure is also Microsoft product, so it is also easy to understand. Okay, but we need to understand what different features of Azure is there. Okay, so let's talk about that. So Azure is a cloud platform. Okay, it is publicly available from 2016. Okay, it is having a global presence. I'll just show you the global presence also about the Azure. It is having 200 plus services, and every after year they are releasing a new one. Okay, so you maybe Copilot is one recently they had added with. Then AI support is another one they had added. So every time they come up with a new things. Okay, and obviously the utility pricing. So whatever services you are using, you have to pay for it. Okay, so this is the basically whatever you are consuming, you have to pay for it. Okay, so this kind of utility pricing is there. So pay as you go model, as we already discussed and started with that. So similarly, same thing is applicable here also. And the most important thing is to understand Azure, it is a free. Okay, so अगर सिर्फ आपको use करना है, सिर्फ देखना है what are the services we are having, so that is completely free. But if you started using it, मतलब if you started using developing the application or there, if you started keeping your files and data on the Azure, so obviously they start basically pricing. Okay, because you started using their services. Okay, but before, just to understand it, it is completely free. Okay, and I will show you also what is a dashboard we are having. So let's talk about that. Okay, so Azure Advantage. Okay, so I'm just putting everything at the same time so you can understand it. So we are having basically Azure is like a how much you are basically consume, it is automatically reduce the cost. Okay, so it's not like that if you just have it a one services, it's better to have a more services so that you can get a reduce of the cost. That's a best approach into the Azure. Okay, so like what exactly here we are having, if I just talk suppose like a complete project, if you're just keeping your complete project on the Azure side or maybe the cloud side, so it is more cheaper than if you just partially keeping on the cloud and partially keeping on the on-premise. Okay, so let me first explain you the very basic thing here. Okay, I'll just explain you with the very basic first. There are two terminologies associated. Okay, the one is a cloud. Okay, so we call it the on cloud, and the another is the on premise. Okay, now what exactly the on premise is? On cloud to humko samajh mein aa gaya. We understood on cloud means what. On premise means what? On premise means what?
Managed by your own hardware systems.
Yeah, I was just, yeah, tell me. Fasim Rahman is trying to explain something. Yeah. On premise means suppose like something you want to build into your environment. Okay, so that is your on premise kind of environment. Okay, suppose like just take an example. if suppose I develop a website, okay, and I'm having my own server, okay, and I am hosting that into my own server, so that is my on premise, okay. So if suppose that website users, and suppose the users are very limited, so I can afford that server also in my house or in my basically premise, okay, because that server capacity is not that much is needed at any time. But suppose it is a web application. Let's say it is my Amazon kind of application, or it is my Myntra, or any application. You can just take it. Even in the banking also, we are having online banking application. So such kind of application if I am having, so I cannot afford the server capacity and the ongoing maintenance. Just think about the first example which we had taken, such kind of things at my own premise. Okay, what in that case, what I will do, I will just buy certain basically services from the Azure cloud, where I can host my application for my users, or for my client. Okay, so my client start using or consuming the application which I had developed, just like your Amazon basically shopping basically portal, or maybe you can have it any bank application from that location, okay, rather than keeping inside into my on premise. So that is on premise concept. I hope it is clear.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now, the most important thing here is trade capital expense for variable expenses. Okay, so what exactly here? Suppose I want to have it on the on-premise, so I had to invest lot many basically servers. I had to keep a server's racks. At the same time, the heat is being generated. I had to maintain it in the cooling temperature, so I had to establish a cooling system around that. I had to maintain a backup of it, then physical security, then virtual security. So many parameters I had to maintain here. Okay, so instead of going with this for a one client or a one application, what I will do, I will just have it, instead of this, I will go for the cloud one. So that is a best advantage. Okay, so Azure is providing the services and I will avail those services. So on the monthly charge or a yearly charge, I can just pay for it, and I'm also basically comfortable. Any no basically in expense I had to have it at the very beginning stage, and my client is also happy because they are also getting proper access of their application. So such way that basically variable expenses, or we can say the other expenses, can be reduced. Then benefits from the massive economic scale. Okay, so how much you are consuming, you will be reducing less and less cost. Okay, so that is again a best part of using cloud. Okay, and don't even imagine the capacity, like even you we okay, we can't imagine how much capacity the cloud basically is having. Okay, so every after basically 6 months, you will come with a new capacity, even units also. Okay, so stop guessing the capacity. They are having infinite capacity, I would say. Okay, and the most important, just having a switch on feature, and your application is move on to the cloud. Okay, and it is all around the globe, so it doesn't matter whether your client is located in North America or Africa or Europe, you are able to provide them best services. Okay, so this is a main advantage of using Azure. Okay, I hope it is clear. Anyone having any doubt at this point?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Perfectly fine. Now we are having service tax. See, basically there are so many services. As I told you, there are 200 plus services Azure is providing. So they are segregated into the stacks. Okay, stacks in the sense they are segregated into categories, I would say. Okay, so they are having global infrastructure, then they are having foundation services, and they are having platform services. Okay, so basically global infrastructure is like a kind of things, and I'll just take a very basic example here. Okay, suppose I want to buy say I want to buy a milk and I want to buy a bread. Okay, so what is the first approach I will do in India? Normally I'm just taking an example which considering the India location only. So what I will do, I'll just go to my nearby grocery shop. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Will I go to the big bazaar or a D-Mart? Obviously not, right? Because just buying this, I will not travel 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers, because big bazaar is definitely not next to my place, right?
Yeah.
So what I will do is I will go to the next to my place, whichever be the grocery shop basically there, I would be just go there and I'll just buy bread and butter or bread and milk, whatever products I wanted, the basic one. Okay. So what is that? That's a regions. Okay. That's a regions. Okay. So in the global infrastructure of Azure, there are the regions. Okay. So suppose like which is the closest region I will be using, I will be getting less cost because I need not travel. Na? See, it's a very simple. If I want to buy bread and butter, I will get it into Big Bazaar also. I will get it into DMart also. But what will happen if I go there? I had to basically travel. Okay, the travel cost will be added. Okay, so whatever be the bread and butter cost me, it will be added with the 100 rupees extra because I had to travel. Maybe by car, maybe by auto, or maybe by my own bike. But I had to add some extra cost on it. Okay. But whereas if I just buy it from the grocery shop, which is next to my basically door, so there I just go to within a walk and I'll just get it. So there is no extra cost of traveling. Are you clear with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Similarly, when we talk about a global infrastructure is a globally presence. Okay. So whatever be the product I'm going to host into the cloud, or whatever be the whatever be the services I'm going to use from the cloud, I will always look nearby region. Okay, so in our basically India, whichever be the region nearby, maybe Hyderabad, maybe Mumbai, or maybe any location, I will be preferring that rather than preferring North America region. Why? Because North America region, every time I had to travel over there, I mean, my application request will travel that location and then it will send back. So there is a internet consumption, one thing. There is a performance delay, another thing. Okay. So what I will prefer is if suppose I am in the India, I am developing any application, I am hosting something, I am maintaining something. So if my client, if my customer, if my users belongs to India zone, I will prefer the India location only. I will not prefer North Virginia or any other location into the US. Am I clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now there are availability zones. There are so many terminologies associated. Okay. So this is a just masterclass. I'm just giving you the glimpse about it. But if you just get into the curriculum, we are going to discuss the curriculum very soon. So there also you will find so many things we will be having very detailed. Okay. The next level of the basically services are the foundation services. Okay. So foundation services are the services which are being basically needed either by your developer who is developing any application, either by the networking people, network administrator or assistant administrator who requires to maintain the networking. Okay. So suppose I want I don't want a server inside into my basically company. I am not going to afford it or I don't want to invest it. So it's better to have it onto the cloud. Who will take care about it? The networking people will take care about it. Understood?
Yes.
And the last and very important, that is the storage. Okay. See, because why we are struggling all these things, because we are not having that storage capacity, because every day, every second, the data is continuously basically generated. Okay. Just think about it. Right now also the data is generated because this session is also being recorded. So data is being generated. Try to understand. Similarly, you are using WhatsApp, you are using Insta, continuously the data is being generated. Okay. And that has to be stored somewhere. So the storage is again one of the very important aspects for the foundation services. So these are the three services for which we will be using cloud. The compute is one where we will be developing, maintaining, managing the application, make it available our application to the users. Then networking is one where the infrastructure, we will be keeping infrastructure, I mean to say the systems, okay, the operating system, okay, then who will be the users of that operating system, or who will be the basically operating system, and on top of operating system there will be the machine. Okay, we call it a virtual machine. So like that machine configuration, if suppose your application is being developed into the Java, so we need to have a JVMs, we need to have all the Java setup over there. Suppose your application is developed into some another technology, if it is a Salesforce or any example I'm just taking. So all that thing need to be taken care by the networking people and make it available for the storage side. So we will be having storage services. So these are the major services we were going to cover in our basically curriculum, which we are going to discuss very soon. Okay. Then platform as a service. So where we will be just having a platform to use it. Okay. So there we are having analytics, there we are having deployment, we are having databases, we can manage this basically application using project management approaches, we can have a DevOps, we can have a agile. So all these approaches, we can have it into the management side and many more. As I told you that 200 plus services, so I cannot put it everything in my screen and I can show you. These are the broad categories of the services we can have it under the Azure. Any doubt in this?
No.
I hope it is clear. Okay. So if you just see here, this is the global presence of our Azure. Okay. So many locations they are. Okay. And continuously it is emerging. So these are the basically locations. And at every location, such kind of basically data centers are available. Okay. So technically you can see it here right now, this image. But when we are getting into much more detail, so these data centers are also being explained in very detailed way, like how it is being basically connect with the users and how the data centers are being maintained. Okay, so 50K to 80K server, just imagine 50,000 से 80,000 servers है एक data center के अंदर. Just try to imagine how much capacity, how much compute capacity they are having. Are you understanding? Are you just try to actually visualizing?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we are having availability zones. Okay, so every basically availability zones is nothing. It's a data centers. Okay, so like one and more data centers are nothing. It is into one availability zone. So let's say if Mumbai is my availability zone, try to understand. So in the Mumbai location, okay, we are having, if there is only one availability zone, but rather we are having 3 availability zone. I'm just taking a one example here. So how many Azure data centers will be there? There will be 2 data centers. Okay, one will be the active one and the second one is a backup one. So ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आज मुंबई में बहुत बारिश हो रहा है तो the access is not available. It will not like that. Okay, because what the Azure is giving you the promise that it will be available at 99.999%. Okay, so whatever be the services you are availing, it will be available at 99.999% availability services. Okay, so just imagine there is no chance of failure. Okay, so such way they are having a backup plan at the same time and the same availability zone. Okay, so this is all the terminologies associated with the Azure. I hope you understood what exactly Azure and cloud services are. Anyone having any basically doubt about it? Look at this, a region. Okay, so region is nothing where the 3 availability zones are there. The minimum 3 availability zones make a one region. Suppose I'm treating Mumbai is one region. So in the Mumbai, there are 3 availability zones. And within one availability zone, how many basically servers we had? We are having 50 plus 50. Means like 1 lakh servers we are having. Are you clear with that? You are imagining, you are able to understand how the infrastructure is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, quickly, I'll just show you. Okay, quickly, I'll just share you how other services are. See, these are the infrastructure services which we are talking about. Okay. Now, I'll be sharing how the basically services we can have it. Okay, into the Azure environment. So this is my Azure basically login. Okay, if you see here, this kind of basically services you can have it. Okay, so what are the services you can have it? The very first, you can have a virtual machines. Okay, you can launch your virtual machine. Suppose I want to launch a, say, for example, I just want one machine, okay, with the 2 GB RAM or maybe say 8 GB RAM. and 1 TB hard disk and Java on install on it. So such kind of virtual machines I can create. I can create a resource groups out of it. Okay, so these machines can be resource group. Okay, it can be network internally. Okay, and then the storage, we can have a storages. So there are storage services. We are having block services. We are having fabric services. So many different services are there into the cloud, which we are going to discuss, okay, during the complete curriculum which we are having. Okay, so this is just a glimpse. I am just showing you. So these are the categories of services. You can have a compute services. What are the compute services we are having? What are the database services we are having? Are you understanding what I'm talking right now? Anyone having any confusion, they can ask me. Networking services, what are the networking services we are having? So these are the basic services which we discussed as a foundation side. Okay, then we will also have, okay, we also basically discuss about what exactly the things we are going to cover. So there are total 14 basically modules we are having, which starting with the Microsoft Azure, okay, the account creation. We deep dive into the basically Microsoft Azure, what exactly the Azure services are, okay, and how it is being used. So I will show you there are 3 ways to use Azure services. One, you can use it with the Azure portal. Second, you can use it with the CLI, and the third, you can use it with the Azure PowerShell. So these are the 3 approaches or 3 interfaces you can use for using the Azure services, that we will be discussing in the module number 1. Then gradually we get inside, we get into more detail about the services. So here we are having storage services. As I told you that we are having Azure block service, storage, containers are there. So many, see, there are so many things we are having here. Okay, and it's not only that, whatever be the mention that we are going to discuss, it's like that, if suppose you come with certain case, or if you come with certain doubts, if you come and you explore something and you ask me any question, so definitely I'll be explaining much more detail into it. Okay, so the points don't just go and count, oh, there are 10 points or there are 12 points have been covered. It's not like that. It is just a heading. Okay, if you talk, if you ask any questions, so definitely that questions definitely touches nearly more deep dive into that topic. Okay, so these are the module number 2. Then module number 3, we will be again talking about the storage services only. Okay, because storage services are very important, because mainly storage services के लिए ही cloud use होता है. Okay, so storage services we are getting into much more detail. Then navigate the compute services. So compute services, we will be talking about the VMs, okay, how the virtual machines, virtualization concepts. So all that things we are going to discuss here. Container services. So there are different containers we are having, okay, and how those containers can be basically used. So there also we will talk about few container services tools also there. Okay, so that also we are going to talk about. Kubernetes are there, Docker is there. So that also we are going to cover. So it's Kubernetes and Docker is a third-party tools. Okay, that is not a part of Azure. How those tools are being used, okay, during your deployment or during your development of applications. So that is also being covered here. Okay, then we will be having different services part. Okay, then we are having networking as a see the basic 3 foundation services. So anything, it's not only the Azure I am talking about. Any cloud provider, if you picked up, if you just picked up AWS also, so there are 3 category of the services. If you talk about Azure, there are also 3 category. Okay, so these 3 category of services we will be covering during our curriculum. Okay, so this is how you will be basically able to understand what exactly the cloud computing is, why it is important, and how it is being used or how it is being implemented using Azure as a cloud service provider. And there we will be covering your foundation services, that is your networking, storage, and the compute. I hope you understand the glimpse about the curriculum and course through this masterclass. Almost 40 to 42 minutes. I am only just explaining. Now I want you should ask me the questions so that I am able to answer the questions. Yeah, anyone having any doubt? Anyone want to ask anything, any question? See, there are two things. If no one is asking the question, so I can I feel that ki pura sab kuch everybody understood very clearly. One point. And the second thing is ki nobody understood nothing. So where we are landing? Yeah, somebody had asked, okay, what's the security of the cloud? Yeah, definitely. So security of the cloud is basically there are the compliances, okay? We will be actually using those compliances, okay, when we are launching a machine, okay? So security will be considered under two aspects. One is into the cloud compute service, where we will be launching our basically virtual machine. At that point only we will be creating the roles, okay? Suppose I am creating a one virtual machine and you will be the user. Let's say you will be the user, Pooja. So either you will be a sys administrator, or either you will be a developer, or you will be a database administrator. So based on your roles and responsibility, I will be assigning the roles to you. So you will be limited to access those things. So that is one of the security concern we will be taking care by during the computer basically things, and the same time at the networking also, okay? So networking also need roles are being assigned, okay? So roles, we will be creating a roles over there. We will be creating the users authentication over there, and those authentications are given to the proper authorized users only. So such kind of securities are there. One point. Second point is the generic security. If you just ask me, so Azure is having their own security compliance, okay? That is taken care by the Microsoft itself. That is taken care by the Microsoft itself. So suppose you are using any services of the Azure, so automatically whatever be the project level or a user level security compliance, that the user will maintain, and the cloud level compliance is maintained by the Microsoft. I hope your doubt is clear. Yes, Pooja. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Any doubt? Okay. I hope you get insight about the Azure as a cloud through this session. And I'm hoping that this session is really valuable and inputs, added input to your knowledge. Okay. On this note, I'm handing the session to the Arzu. Arzu, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful master class. So how was the class, students? Any feedback about the classes in the Zoom chat box? That's very nice, students. Others? Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you so much everyone for attending this master class. We'll be hoping to conduct more of this master class. This is the only class, or we get any other some classes? Pooja, this was only the master class. If you want any other classes, you can just drop your details in the WhatsApp group. Our team will contact.